Hi, I'm Tom. This is Lucy, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So today, Lucy and I wanted to talk to you for a minute about the difference between food and feed. Lucy doesn't really see much of a difference between them, but her cells do, and that's really what I want to talk about. Food is really something that we eat to thrive, something that, in my opinion, is nutritious and that we enjoy eating. Whereas feed is something that we give to someone else when really all we want to do is just keep them alive. So we would think of maybe farm animals or prisoners as someone who got feed, where we don't necessarily put a lot of thought into their enjoyment of it, just that it's at least good enough that they'll eat it and they'll stay alive. And, when we go to the grocery store and we see the sign over the aisle that says cat food, that's not entirely accurate. All the packages may say cat food on them, but the fact of the matter is that most of what's in those packages is cat feed. Animal feeds became an industrial product around the turn of the 20th century, with companies like Purina stepping up and producing kibble for farm animals. And these were designed around economic choices. Right, Lucy? There you go. And whenever a farmer has to buy a supply of any sort, it has to be chosen based on the return he's getting from his or her product, and the amount expended has to be as low as possible so that that farmer can get a higher profit. And that's just the way that it is, whether I personally like that model or not. Animals in captivity have not always been treated with the utmost kindness. When we think of pet foods, we often think of the pictures that are marketed to us by some brilliant marketing professionals on the packages and on the advertisements associated with those pet foods. Unfortunately, a lot of what's on the package is pictures of human food that are designed to appeal to us humans. When we talk about food, we really are talking about two sides to a coin. One is enjoyment and one is nutrition. So we sort of have to address the elephant in the room, and that is that for the most part, we really don't understand nutrition at all. We don't understand anything more than the broadest of strokes when it comes to human nutrition. I mean, we see reports, studies, week in and week out that constantly contradict themselves. Coffee is good for you, and now this week it's bad for you. And now wine is good for you, but this week it's bad for you. Things like that occur all the time. And so what we see from the history of the study of human nutrition is that there is a complexity to what our cells need that isn't fully understood. Now, if we don't understand human nutrition, I don't know how we would ever come to understand feline nutrition. Cats are biologically very similar to humans. They're mammals just like us, but they have some key differences, and those differences have largely gone ignored over the decades prior to like the late 1980s. The late 1980s was when it was discovered that cats required taurine. Taurine is a amino acid that is absolutely a requirement of feline nutrition. But all the way up to the late 1980s, that was not even thought of. It wasn't understood at all until people started noticing that the similarity in some of the maladies that cats were getting when they were put on commercial diets. And they realized that there was a deficiency. So, not to say that we're totally ignorant about it, but we really don't fully understand the complexities of it. So I think it's important that we understand when we're choosing cat food that it all exists on a continuum. And at one end is the cheapest kibble. And in the middle somewhere is wet canned cat foods, which there's a huge variety of those. So that's a big middle area. And then there at the far end are what cats would eat, what they would prey upon in the wild. And then you come back a little bit from that and you have a raw diet that we prepared as humans and hopefully added in the proper nutrients that, at least as far as we know, that they need. But again, there's a complexity to that prey diet that isn't even met by a raw diet, because when a cat eats a mouse, it's going to eat fur, skin, teeth, the grass the mouse was eating. There's a lot more to that meal than just a protein source. So we can produce feeds that will allow cats to survive, but we don't know enough yet to produce feeds that we would call food. And that's really the conundrum. So I would just encourage you, if you're trying to make the best choice for your cat, to read the labels and to try to understand what the compromises are that you're making with each food, because every feed level food is a bit of a compromise. I mean, there's just not that much known. I have this book, the Manual of Veterinary Dietetics. In terms of just normal, what should I feed my cat kind of questions, there's 10 pages in here about that. I would encourage you, there's a really brilliant website called truthaboutpetfood.com, and I would encourage you to see what the site owner, Susan Thixton, has written there. She's really proven to be an advocate for all pets with American regulatory agencies and the big pet food industry. And she has a lot of information there that's readily available online. And you can look through and sort of start to get a tip of the iceberg kind of perspective on exactly how deceptive some of the marketing practices of some of these companies are. Now, I don't know that it's always intentional, but it is deceptive. And we have to arm ourselves with information in order to make the best choices for our pets. So I just say, if kibble is the best food you can afford, that's okay. But if you have the opportunity to spend a little more and get something a little better, move on up the spectrum. And the further along you go, the better off your pet will be and the more they will thrive. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.